Welcome to Cyclops is Waiting for Me, an X-Men animated recap podcast where we are diving into Wolverine and the X-Men for our very first time ever with episode 1, Hindsight, part 1. I somehow got through that without stumbling. I am JC, and I want to give a shout out to the crew over at The Keeg Show, who I was on as of when we are going live 1 week previously. I'll send links to it. It was in our socials, though, and I was there to talk about... It was technically there for What If Season 3, but we ended up talking a lot about What If as a whole. So,
nice. And I'm Rod. January 2nd is the busiest day of the year for me because I put off everything at the end of the previous year for January 2nd, and today caught up with me. I had 4 meetings. I had broken screws removed from my bone and my skull. And
you could say mouth. Mouth is less creepy when you word it that way.
But it's not just that. They had to go from the other side. So it's wild. Anyway, this is Lucy, who just got a new clearance Christmas cat scratcher bed and is desperately wanting to go play in it. So I'm going to go let her go do that. But because of internet and clicks, here's a cat in this video. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Lucy, here you go.
I need to adjust the tags when I do the upload.
There's a black cat in this video.
Yep.
Anyway, Cyclops is Waiting for Me is our now bi-weekly podcast series where we're going back and watching every single X-Men animated episode we can find. God, I have today.
Told you to read it first.
Yeah, no, it's not that. I have been in comatose for a week on purpose. And then went full throttle today. This podcast started with the original 1992 X-Men the Animated Series, building up to the release of X-Men 97. Along the way, we're completing the X-Men... we completed X-Men Evolution and launched our companion interview show, the Xavier Files. And since Season 2 of X-Men 97 isn't announced yet for 2025, so we'll see. We're going to dedicate this year to Wolverine and the X-Men, the show.
Some quick reminders or a recap show about a series that started over 15 years ago. There are going to be spoilers. And if you don't want to spoil for you, pause the podcast, watch the episode, and come back. We are not currently sponsored by or affiliated with Marvel Animation, Disney, Disney Plus, or Hulu in any way, shape, or form.
I didn't put that together. That was 15 years ago. I literally just recorded. By the time this episode comes out, the TikTok will be out about how Pink's first greatest hits album was 15 years ago. We've hit that age where Pink has had more than one greatest hits album, and the first one was 15 years ago.
That
when this show came out. Remember Raise Your Glass? That song is 15 years old. Anyway.
Thanks, Rod.
Don't forget to follow us on social media at Cyclops IWFM Pod on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky, and Facebook. I need to check on TikTok because I don't know if I posted since last year.
I don't think you have.
Okay. Well, expect an influx of whatever I forgot to post.
And then whenever you want to edit that pinball footage that I shot you, or if I need to resend it to you.
Oh, I do have that somewhere, don't I? Yeah,
it's in our text thread.
Yeah, I've downloaded everything. It's somewhere on one of these hard drives. Yep. We were talking before recording about What If Season 3. Think what you will about the show. I was personally excited about Thor Storm. I don't know.
Yeah. Before the season started, that was the thing that made me the most excited, was thinking we were going to get What If Storm wielded Mjolnir, and then we got the second half of that story, but we didn't get the origin, which made me sad.
Oh, really? Yeah. So I guess if you don't want to hear about this, you can skip to whatever time I overlay right now. But Alison Seeley Smith, the Storm, as far as I'm concerned, she voiced this Storm, and it was weird because I expected it to be the opposite of two characters. I was excited to see Shang-Chi again. I knew he was going to be a cowboy in this, but I thought that was going to be just a bit character. And then, there was going to be a whole episode about Storm, but it was reversed. Storm was a character, but then there was an entire episode about Shang-Chi as a cowboy in the Wild West.
Which I will say, the Shang-Chi episode was probably one of my 2 favorites from the entire season.
Yeah, this season, it was easy to pick favorites because there was I don't want to call them duds necessarily, but weren't the strongest. I think the dialogue, we were talking over the break, that the dialogue a lot of times was not the sharpest.
It was campy, but not in a charming way.
Yeah, like I loved the mech suit episode. But I guess it fit because, like, as long as you ignore the human dialogue, it's fine. But that's the way it is with Godzilla and, kaiju movies and stuff anyway. The Shang-Chi one was surprisingly historic. Like, I didn't think that they were going to go there about, like, the railroad workers and, the Chinese immigrants and stuff. But they went there.
They also did a pretty deep cut with Walton Goggins' character. Like, I forgot that they were in one of the Ant-Man movies.
Yeah, I saw his credit at the beginning, and I was like, oh, that's fun. And then he was in there. I was like, wait. And I was like, that's right. He made like one, because this is before he. I know he was active before, but I feel like he like
it was really, his like. It was like Sons of Anarchy, Walton.
Oh, really?
Oh,
okay. Yeah. See, I didn't watch Sons of Anarchy, but I feel like he got like this resurgence recently because of Fallout.
Yeah.
So, sorry, this is really gross, but I don't know. You're here now. At the beginning of my holiday break, I always do this like Korean foot peel thing, and I was like, oh, it didn't work this time. So that was literally a day or two before Christmas. Just right now, my foot decided to start peeling like a sock. So anyway, now you have that image.
All right. Well, we're not putting that on the video show. So
I was gonna say, like, I have the piece right here. I'll show you when we're not recording.
No. You could not do that, and that would be fine.
Anyway, Storm was amazing because it wasn't just like one episode, like a big character either, though. Even though we didn't get her, I don't know her origins from the comics and stuff. The Thor Storm. But, like, I did love that crew with, like, Birdie, who I'm assuming is new just for What If.
Birdie is brand new from What If. And Thor Storm was actually in continuity. It wasn't a What If scenario.
Oh, okay. Interesting. No. I mean, I guess it makes me happy to think that, like, Aurora Monroe is one of, like, the worthy, worthy enough to, like, wield Mjolnir. And then Cohorty was in that, and
Captain Carter.
Yeah, Captain Carter.
Yeah, it was 3 original characters. I consider Captain Carter original because obviously we knew Peggy, but like making them such an emphasis, I was totally cool with. I didn't like Birdie as a character.
Oh, really?
Like I think it's the tie to Howard because I just don't like Howard. Like, regardless of the logistics that you and I were texting about, which we don't need to get into on this, I just don't like Howard.
Okay.
So anything tied to Howard has a negative implication for me.
It is a weird thing because, like, if you didn't, because What If's one of those series where you don't have to watch every episode. I would.
You shouldn't, but you do, which is a problem I have with What If as a non-anthology show.
Yeah, so I guess, like, the show, like, someone probably could, like, map out, like, there's probably a handful of episodes that you watch that are, like, actually, like, in continuity with each other. And so, like, if you didn't watch it, like, you just saw Birdie, like, oh, that's cool. She's, like, this superpowered bird lady that they make some reference to her being born on the Convergence and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that sounds cool, but then you're like, she's the love child of Darcy and Howard. I'm like, wait, what? Like, from a Thor party in like another universe? Like, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Because Natasha Lyonne voiced her, and she's going to be something in one of the next Marvel movies, right? Like in live action. And so I think a lot of people are scared that she's going to be Birdie in live action because that character design did look a lot like Natasha.
Yeah. I mean, the only scenario where I don't hate that is in Secret Wars because that is a convergence of different convergence of different universes essentially. Yeah. So if it's like a quick moment in that, cool. But I don't want to see that character like. I don't want to see a full movie with that character, honestly.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I feel like you don't get like an actress like Natasha Lyonne for like a small cameo. That's kind of like when Jeremy Renner showed up with a Thor.
That was different because that was shot after Thor was shot, basically.
But I guess I just mean like I was dating this girl at that time, and I wasn't familiar with Jeremy Renner at the time. Mm-hmm. So when that scene happened, I was like, that's just it was like a soldier or something to me. And then we got out of the movie, and my girlfriend was like, hey, So that's going to be Hawkeye, right? I'm like, wait, what? He's like, because that's Jeremy Renner, and they didn't just get him to be a shadow in the background. I'm like,
No.
oh, and then of course now his story, we know. It's true. Anyway, but I dug that crew, like especially with Storm, got to be kind of like the multiverse crew. I don't know.
So that's the second part I have a problem with, because the name Exiles is incredibly loaded.
Oh, is that what they were called? I missed that.
They called themselves the Exiles at one point.
Gotcha.
Which is a team that almost always has implications heavily tied to X-Men teams. Gotcha. Like the original Exiles came out of Age of Apocalypse, and it was Blink and the Sabretooth from Age of Apocalypse as 2 of the 6 members.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
Okay, man, what if they make Birdie an X-Man?
And then Morph, and Morph was a member of it from AOA. So like, it didn't feel good. No,
there's a lot. And anyway, I'm sure either by the time this comes out or very soon, New Rockstars is gonna have a breakdown, because there was so many Easter eggs in the last episode of What If, with all the different like multiverse stuff. But anyway,
oh yeah, where there was like a Wolverine Thanos combo in the stars and stuff like that.
The stars, but also like when each of the characters was like getting their different existences blasted out.
Oh, when they were getting ripped out, yeah.
Yeah, like I think there was like a Scarlet Witch. No, yeah, that was in the stars with Scarlet Witch, Howard the Duck, and then there was a Birdie that was just a Howard.
Yeah,
that was I don't know, wild. Anyway, we're talking about X-Men.
All right, and we'll make sure to mark that earlier on of what our time code is. Now, on to the show. Today, we are talking about Season 1, which is the only season, Episode 1 of Wolverine and the X-Men, titled Hindsight, Part 1. This aired on January 23rd of 2009, currently sits at a 7.5 star rating on IMDb. I love that they got through the entire series in one calendar year, as will we.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I'm a nerd and I put this in a giant spreadsheet. So we will finish up before Christmas of 2025, and looking at just the dates and trying to avoid any spoilers for the series itself. Their last episode, I want to say, was either late October or sometime in November. I don't remember off the top of my head, but they literally did it during that 1 year. So we're coincidentally mirroring that without even trying to, which is cool.
That's fun.
Yeah. They didn't do like bi-weekly though. I think they had like breaks in between. But
the breaks, but also if it ran from January, like October, and yeah. Yep.
So, do you want to do a first impression of it, or do you want to just go into it and we'll do impressions at the end?
I have a very short first impression. I think I'm going to like this show. You probably guessed that. Like it's. I love the mystery. I love this right off the bat superhero stuff. Like 2 minutes in. Even though Wolverine is not my favorite character, I know that's a hot take, but like he's fine. I honestly thought I might have been like a little bit like, okay, another Wolverine thing, but it makes sense here. It looks like, I'm going to make a prediction without seeing it. Don't spoil it for us because we haven't seen this yet. It looks like what they're setting up is the introduction of all the X-Men through Wolverine's like journey. And that kind of makes sense, because if everybody's like there for Wolverine, then yeah, do that. Like, have him be the main guy. But also, like, I didn't know that this was a Marvel Studios production. I saw Marvel Studios. I saw Kevin Feige. I'm like, oh, damn. Okay, so this is like the same time as Iron Man. So anyway, I think I'm going to like the show. I like the first episode, even though I have a few notes that we'll get through when we're talking. But like overall, it's like, wow, this is already so much. It's feeling a little bit like the drama we had in '92. So, comments before we get into it, I will say, I remembered there was a thing online where somebody wanted to fight me about it, but this was supposed to be in continuity to X-Men the Animated Series, which makes no fucking sense. No, not
at all. I did see also, there were notes that this was kind of like a spiritual sequel to X-Men Evolution, because there's certain things that kind of fit the tone following the last season, but it did actually have a lot of the creative members of it, including like Stephen Gordon, Christopher Yost, like that crew who did do Evolution was also a part of this. But as far as like it being a timeline, there's no way that is the same timeline. That wouldn't make sense. So the episode kicks off, And I thought this was a cold open right at the beginning. I didn't realize this is actually the intro of the MRD troops, and they're grabbing mutants and throwing them in, and then you see like a bunch of the characters, because it didn't feel like an animated intro to me. There was no music to it or anything like that, so it had a very different vibe behind the beginning.
Yeah, I saw the skip button for intro.
Yeah,
and
same.
then I was like, oh, that was like or either it was a glitch, or like the intro was actually just that first second, or something with the title card. But I my note here was like, it's a cool intro, but like underwhelming music. The music was fine underneath the.
I don't even remember the music being there, to be honest.
It was like very low, like score underneath. Like I don't think anything was meant to be like memorably melodic or anything.
Yeah,
but I thought it was a cool intro. I like that it wasn't. It didn't seem like it was like a bunch of stitched together scenes. It was like its own like little
cohesive moment kind of scenario. Yeah. Probably we're never going to talk about it again, but we'll point out. So you have the troops. You see that they have the Sentinel, and then you see captured mutant cameos in the truck. You see Blink, who I just mentioned, part of Age of Apocalypse, the purple girl. And then you see Marrow, who most people know because of the Marvel vs. Capcom video game. And then you see one mutant that has their mouth covered, which I don't know if that's officially the character, but I think it might be Chamber from Generation X, who's all in that shot.
Is that the one, the action figure had like fire on his mouth or something?
Yes. Okay. That's why I think it was that character.
Gotcha. Yeah. Once again, if you're just tuning into this show now, that's how I know my characters, either from 92 or the Toy Biz action figures.
You see some kids running, then Wolverine jumps in, you get the title card, and then we see the characters in this order: Cyclops, Angel, Emma Frost, Nightcrawler, Storm, Bobby, Kitty, and Beast. So, and then I marked that Craig Kyle was back. Yeah, Craig Kyle, not Chris Kyle.
Oh, gotcha.
From the original creative team. Yep. And then you see the team shot, and then it goes into Happy Kids playing at the Institute. It's like, okay, I guess that is our intro. And the only thing I did look at for the next episode, which we're recording these differently from a timeline perspective, I did look, and it's like, okay, that is just how they do their intro now on the show. So
just with that little like sequence. Oh, good to know. Like we're almost in 2010s at this point, so I guess they've like kind of they're getting more to like how it is now, where there's very short like sequence, like it's not a song, I guess.
Correct. Yeah. So you got the kids at the Institute. Outside, you see the first design of this version of Storm alongside Xavier.
Yo, my note there was Storm has a wild head shape in that initial image. It looked like a Tommy.
Yeah, the hair for Tommy from the Morlocks. I totally see that. It's interesting because there's certain people that the proportions are perfect. Like Wolverine, I feel like is drawn perfectly. And then like, to your point, Storm has a really interesting perspective to how she's drawn. And then you go into the Danger Room where you see Kitty and Colossus has like, is it like elephantitis in his forearms or something like that? It's the most unrealistic shape of Colossus, even more extreme than X-Men Evolution's style of any character, I felt like.
That Colossus reminded me of like how DC does their kids animated shows. The weirdly shaped,
like Teen Titans Go vibes.
Yeah. And to their credit, Storm gets better design wise when they're focusing on her. I think that initial shot, she was meant to be in the background, so it just ended up being this wild, like geometric shape. But like, yeah, it's hard to tell. Like, are they supposed to be realistic or not? Like...
Yeah, I didn't know, because it could go either way. To your point, is like, was this supposed to be real, or is it supposed to be like anime inspired? And if it's anime inspired, it's like, what kind of anime is it, So in the training room, you got Kitty, you got Colossus. Kitty is running through a wall. Peter gets trapped between two walls. Kitty gets snagged by a tentacle. And then you have Nightcrawler there. And I don't know if I like this version of Kurt.
I said, Nightcrawler's here. A lot meaner than I'm used to.
Kind of a dick.
I guess the excuse is supposed to be that one of them is going to win this challenge. But I feel like even the Nightcrawlers we've seen in the past was more about helping people than like winning something.
So the funny thing is the voice actor for this, at the time, I don't think was really big, but it's Liam O'Brien, who is from Vox Machina Critical Role.
Oh.
He's Vax in Vox Machina.
Gotcha. I'm aware.
Now that I hear that, as like, oh, that's why his voice sounds like such a dick, because the character of Vax is such a dick.
That's so funny. Yeah, I don't watch it, but I'm familiar with the I'm aware that Critical Role is out there and how big it is.
Yeah. But his character in Critical Role is like this snarky rogue, so it's a very good fit for him. And also, coincidentally, he will be the voice of Magneto in the show, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, the voice cast on this was interesting. Like, I'll do a quick sidebar on it. Jennifer Hale is Jean, and we know Jennifer would later become Jean in X-Men 97.
Uh-huh.
You have Steve Bloom, who is Logan. Steve is best known for, in the anime community, Cowboy Bebop. He's Spike Spiegel. You would know him because he does the voice of Sub-Zero.
Wait, in what?
Some Mortal Kombat thing, he's the voice of Sub-Zero. I think more recently.
Gotcha. Oh, and maybe one of the animated shows or something.
Or in the game, possibly. I don't know.
But I did watch Cowboy Bebop because I had a friend once that really loved anime, and I was like, I'm not going to watch a ton of anime, but I was like, if there had to be one,
it's the one
Cowboy
to watch.
Bebop was like, it made. I don't know which one I saw, though, because I know there's like series and movie and all that stuff, but I got the gist of it.
And then Nolan North, who does the voice of every video game character ever, is the voice of both Beast and Cyclops. So,
okay, yeah, Cyclops was another one. His design was weird. He looked more like a striker than Cyclops. I don't know how to explain it.
And then I don't know if this character comes back for future episodes, but Colonel Moss is Michael Ironside.
I don't know who that is.
Do you remember the teacher from Starship Troopers who becomes their like sergeant?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, him.
That's so funny.
Yep.
And is he the one that has a scar across his face?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, Nightcrawler's a dick, and Kitty won't phase through the arms because this Kitty, I kind of like the fact that her powers control a little bit differently, because she's like, well, I don't want to phase through and then fall flat on my face. Like, it actually gave Kitty like a limitation. Whereas in Evolution, I felt like they were a little like more loosey-goosey of like, I could just fall through shit and it's fine.
When she said that, I had this image. I don't even know if it happened in Evolution, but I could just picture Kitty phasing through something up high and then like floating like a feather.
Yeah, like descending.
Like she could kind of fly almost or glide. I'm like, oh, okay. So are they gonna? There's some problems they have later, like some contradictions later, but like,
So they're all competing, like you pointed out. Kitty's yelling at Peter. Peter ends up getting caught by a magnet, and then Nightcrawler gets like gooed to the ceiling.
I guess he can't teleport out of that. It was the implication.
So. I don't know. That one didn't seem real. Like good one to me. And then they realize it was Logan who was activating all this, so nobody won, as his way of saying goodbye.
I guess you just accept that he's leaving because it's Logan.
Mm-hmm. That's what he does.
Yeah,
like he does that at random in other shows and other movies. So like you know, I dig that. Goes outside. We see Scott, which I don't have a huge problem with how Scott is designed, except for the fact that he has a very defined upper lip but no lower lip. It was something with the way his face is drawn. Lip design. It's almost a little bit like how the lips are overemphasized in What If.
Okay, what do you mean?
Yeah, like the upper lip looks different than what a lower lip is. I don't know why, but that stood out to me.
I just put together what Cyclops reminds me of because you mentioned the anime stuff. Mm-hmm. Between the way of like how they like shaped, like chiseled his face and his glasses, he looks like a villain in anime. You know, when the glasses are like shiny.
Yeah.
That's what he looked like to me. I was like, oh, he does not look like a hero in this or whatever. And then Jean is like hot. I mean, like, not like when she's hot.
I was waiting to see what was going to come out of your mouth.
She's
there.
like hot for Logan, man. Like, she is not hiding it. And so I kind of get Scott being upset.
Yeah. Because apparently she was yelling at him that because he's apologizing. And she's like, no, you owe Logan an apology. And then Logan gives a wave, and Jean straight up blows him a kiss right next to Scott.
So I was like,
they're going hardcore for this love triangle story here, and I'm all about it.
It's like, what happened? Like, what? What? I want to screw the rest of the story. I want to find out what happened here.
If we get through the entire season and that story doesn't get a payoff, I'm going to be pissed. That's the one I'm already invested in that.
We should ask Punker Ducky to have write some fanfic for us to complete that.
No, I can't read smut. Logan goes over to his bike. Beast is there. It is the most Kelsey Grammer ass voice possible. Like, they leaned into it by the time of this one, it felt like.
Yeah, because and that's probably why they did the Wolverine thing, right? Because the Hugh Jackman's popularity is, I mean, Wolverine's always been popular, but yeah,
you also got to remember around this time, he was the hottest comic book character, save maybe for Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
He was in, this was 2008, so he would have been in probably 8 books a month for Marvel at the minimum.
Oh, wow.
He was in, multiple X books. He had his own book, and then he was also, at the time, crossing over with Brian Michael Bendis' Avengers runs, too. So he was in so much shit at this point.
Gotcha. You know, come to think of it, now I get what you're saying with the anime stuff because of that intro. Because Cyclops looked like an anime character in that intro thing. Okay, I'm putting those all together in real time.
Beast mentions that, Rogue, for some reason, is not happy that Logan is leaving. And then we get, that wonderful shot of the cliffside that the Institute seems to be near. And it was actually a kind of similar layout to Evolution, with where the water is by the Institute and stuff like that.
I guess that's probably where some people think that it's like a sequel to Evolutions because of the cliff, but also Rogue being close to Logan or something. But you said that's happened before, though, right? In other stories.
It was also in the live action original X-Men movie, because Rogue kind of took that place of Kitty.
Oh, right.
So yeah, it's not an uncommon story, but it's not the main 616 continuity story. Really. Yeah. And she is pissed at him for leaving, and basically says you're the only reason I'm still here. And Logan's doing but no, this is your family. And she's like, you're kind of the only one that's like me. And I'm already hooked into what is the story with her in this universe. I'm already I want to know more of why she's such a loner to the rest of the team,
Yeah. And what she sees as their similarities. Is it because there's a lot of ways they could go with that, because we saw what they did in Evolution, but they could go a lot of different directions with that. Even after seeing what Rogue did in Evolution, it opens up this Pandora's box of she could technically be immortal, stuff. There's all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yep. Real quick, since we do keep touching on Evolution, giving a shout out to our friends over at the Uncanny Experience. They have announced that for the was it junior year? I think they're calling it
oh, really?
Based off of years in school. They have Rogue and Kitty Pryde's voice actors from Evolution making an appearance at the event, and that's happening in July, 2 weeks before Comic-Con.
Nice.
So yeah, check out Uncanny Experience. They're friends of the pod.
And so they're probably already planning how they're going to recreate that Buffy dance scene, right? With the girls.
Well, I know what the clip needs to be, even if it's just the bonus one, because we're just going to tag the crap out of Chris and Chandler and Dylan. So yeah,
sweet.
Yeah, and you can steal footage from Evolution for it. So it's perfect. Then it goes back, and you see Charles and Jean. It's kind of like a sudden migraine pops up. Their heads are hurting, and then it's a giant white flash.
Yeah, we'll keep talking because it more happens later. But I was like, "What is this the Days of Future Past movie, Logan?" Where his consciousness goes everywhere. But already this is so much more complex than Evolution,
and it feels more to what your criticism constructively was of Evolution, that it feels more like a superhero show.
Oh yeah, and it's not even criticism. I think Evolution was meant to be a teenage kind of drama show or whatever, and so that was fine. We enjoyed it when it happened, but I personally, I just really love these missions with superheroes and stuff.
Yeah. So Logan wakes up from the white flash, 1 year later, he's by a tree, he's got his motorcycle, sees a girl in an RV who like waves to him, and he's driving down the road and he's at a stop sign and there's an explosion after you hear like a train whistle go off, and then he drives the other way, and I was like, that's okay, this Wolverine has seen some shit, because I can't think of a version of Logan who didn't do the right thing almost immediately, unless it's the worst version kind of scenario,
I was confused then, and I'm still am kind of now about like a lot of little details. Like, he didn't seem rattled that there was a time jump, so I couldn't tell if like he actually jumped or if this was just something,
I think this was, he's just having that as a reoccurring nightmare, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. So we as the viewer, it's a year later, but I think Logan has, especially when we get to the moment, a few minutes into the episode, I think he has experienced this dream almost every night since it happened, kind of scenario.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's my vibe on it, at least.
Yeah.
So he goes down, and you see that there's the RV is basically like underneath the train.
I don't know how that happens. And also, like, that was another question. The RVs were like in a caravan with each other?
I think it was just like three neighbors are like, we're gonna go camping together, and one got whacked by a train and the others didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the other RVs were okay. We got that established, that the other RVs were okay. Also, we're gonna ignore there were probably lots and lots of people who died on that train.
Right? Yeah, because
the train was really fucked up,
and it was like a passenger train. It wasn't like carrying like
a freighter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, you see this guy and his wife, and they're regaining consciousness. They mentioned that the little girl is still there, and that's when Wolverine gets back, and people are like, oh no, just you're not gonna, it's too dangerous, and he does the typical Wolverine of not for me, and then he cuts a perfect square into the hull of, is it a hull?
I don't know.
Wall of the train.
Yeah.
I don't know train technicality. So and right off the bat, that's where you start seeing like the anti-mutant sentiment. Like, they didn't even hide it in this episode. They're like, we're going for this right in episode 1.
That's another thing I like about them just like dropping in. It's kind of like the new James Gunn Superman trailer. He gives us the vibe like, oh, we're not going to spend years doing an origin. Everybody,
we don't need to see Uncle Ben die again.
Yeah, everybody knows Wolverine. You know his thing. Here we go.
Yep. So Wolverine goes in. There's a big explosion. There's crying parents, and then as people are moving some of the stuff off the wreckage, which I feel like at that point that real emergency crews would be arriving. Like, people wouldn't be picking up little parts outside the train, but suspension of disbelief. Right. They pull a piece off, and Logan is there, and under Logan is the little girl, which she's probably dead.
His animanium body did. It was like a cage.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
No. And the dad's asking some of the friends for help, and the guy Carl, which that was great. Thanks for using my last name, guys. Refuses to help and points out like, oh, that's one of them, and haven't you seen him on the news? And the other one of the other neighbors does end up helping him, and they get into this whole like, well, it's the MRD's problem now. And it's like, no, we're not turning this guy in. He literally just saved our kid's life 14 seconds ago.
Yeah. It gave us similar energy as Sunspot's mom in 97. He's like, just go with them. Like, okay, yeah, that's definitely the way to go in every movie or real life.
Yeah.
Just trust the absolute authority.
Yeah. Yeah, Carl was kind of a piece of shit. So I was okay with what happened to him in his RV later on. So, you see the bike get strapped to the back of not Randy's RV, because Randy's RV is the one that got fucked up, but the neighbor Chris's RV. And in the RV, you actually see Logan's skin healing in real time, which that's the first time we've seen that where it's like physical healing. Like normally it's or like visible healing.
Yeah. And they had,
at least in the cartoons.
And they had that squelching sound, which
Yeah.
I remember thinking in the moment, which was literally like probably 30 minutes ago, because I watched this right up until we started recording.
We've already been recording for 35 minutes, right?
I really wish that the healing thing could have something other than like a squelching sound.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell that they just took like fruit and like mashed it together or something for the sound for the Foley.
That's how people heal,
right?
You just you throw melons at each other, and that's how it heals.
There you go, science. More you know.
Mm-hmm.
We were bringing that one back from last year.
On the RV, Logan sees that the girl is okay, and then he starts to have this flashback again. And in it, you see, Logan is. I said Logan and Scott. Does that sound right? Well,
yeah. So this is what I was confused about, because it went back to when Xavier and Jean had their headache thing.
Yes.
And then flashed again. So was that supposed to be the same moment?
You got to see more of it because there was the crater that was where Xavier was.
Okay, because I couldn't figure out if if it was the same moment or that it like was repeating.
I like I said, I think the context of it is
his nightmare.
He's having this as a ongoing flashback memory dream scenario, and we're just getting it in pieces. Because you also see Scott is yelling for Jean, Storm is by this crater, and there's no like blood or like somebody hurt. It's just Xavier and Jean are just straight up missing at this point. Is the impression we get?
Yeah, as I have Storm is like mourning over Xavier's like broken wheelchair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Logan wakes up from the dream and almost kills the child.
The kid is just not phased. I love how kids in all these sci-fi and superhero movies, they're the ones that understand. Like, they're like, no, he's fine. When I was that age, I would have freaked out. Like, like just a big person, let alone one with like claws and stuff.
Yeah. But she had brought like Logan water and said, her dad knew he wouldn't want to go to the hospital. And it's like that childlike innocence, but it's also like, yeah, she also knows he's a good person. He literally saved her life.
Yeah.
Then in the hallway, the mom is pissed at, I can't read what I wrote the name, but the girl who's calling, which is one of the neighbors, and they point out that Carl has like turned all the neighbors against them because Carl has literally turned them into the MRD. Before they actually say it at the end of the episode, did you know what MRD was? Like, because I could not figure out what it was until they literally said it.
Every time they said it, I was like playing through my head. I couldn't figure out the D part. I was like, is mutant registration something? I'm guessing.
Which it wasn't even. Yeah, it wasn't even registration. It was response.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I guess I was just guessing because of them like calling people in and stuff. It's like mutant registration something sounds like.
That's what I was going to do. I thought it was registration.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then you see before it cuts to commercial, there's like a helicopter outside of Logan's room. Yep. So Logan pops out the window as the MRD, without any form of warrant, breaks into these poor people's houses.
Yeah, like SWAT style, right? And right before that, though, Logan opened up the suitcase with the yellow spandex.
Oh, yes, sorry.
It seemed so parallel to that deleted scene where Hugh Jackman opens up the suitcase and has the yellow spandex in there. Only this time he wears it, and it doesn't take 20 years.
Yeah.
Or 30 years, or how long it took.
Yeah, I love the design. Like, it's reminiscent of the comic, but it's not a one-to-one. So it feels like it's its own thing, but they nailed it.
Yeah,
so.
It looks great.
Yeah, because I bitched about this on a previous episode when we were going through Evolution. You can do Logan really, really wrong, and Marvel Rivals was one of those examples.
Oh,
like
really?
the Wolverine and the leather, like it's a yellow leather jacket, and his proportions are just off. And it could look like shit really, really quickly. This one, they did it right.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. That said, I just want to be clear. for Marvel Rivals, there are lots of really great character designs. The Wolverine design itself is specifically not good, though.
He can take a hit every once in a while.
Yeah. So Randy, the dad, is basically getting arrested because he is playing dumb to the cops. He's like, I don't know who you're talking about. So as the whole family is getting brought into a helicopter, so it's not even like a paddy wagon, like they're literally getting taken to a black site at this point. Wolverine jumps off the roof, and there's what I described as a very feral fight. And I don't know if there was anything in particular about the choreo of the fight that stood out to me, but more so just how Logan was reacting during the fight. Mm-hmm. It felt more animalistic than I think what we've seen in the other two shows.
Also, just the way they animated, or like the view they gave us, it was very like cinematic. Like it seemed,
like the framing of it.
Yeah, the framing. That's the word. Like it seemed more like what they would do in an X-Men movie than like a cartoon show, you know, because like there was like the helicopters and the lights, and it was at nighttime, so it was dark, and like it was really cool. Kind of gave me a little bit of a vibe of that like Nightcrawler opening scene, whatever X-Men movie had that in it, you know.
Sure.
That it I don't know, it's an exciting like fight that like you can go back and rewind it and like look at different fight sequences and stuff, but also you know, I didn't take notes about what happened in it because I was like, I get it, like he kicked ass, you know.
Yeah. The parts that stood out to me was he, you know, the family's in the helicopter. He tries to jump and misses the copter. And then whatever MRD guy decides he's going to hit him with a net and gas him. And you get the impression that they're like, all right, we got him. And I was like, are they going to already like punk out Wolverine in his own show this quickly? Thankfully, they did not. And they do a great reveal of just the net getting thrown back at those guys.
Yeah, the MRD did not do their homework.
Yeah.
Which is funny because they said they were looking for him specifically.
Yeah.
But then they didn't.
Well, maybe they were looking for him and they just never gotten to him, so they don't know he could stave off the gas, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. But I do love that he literally launches the gas canister back into the helicopter, which I mentioned Carl's comeuppance. The helicopter crashes on his RV.
Yeah.
So, fuck Carl.
Carl, there you go. That's the new merch. But that was
You're the one who has to design it, so go for it.
that was the other cinematic moment. Like when that helicopter crash, that was like so epic how they like animated that. And I don't know if there's CG in that because I felt like there was some scenes where like there was trucks and things you could see CG. So I don't know if the helicopter was or not, but it was really well done either way.
I didn't get the vibe of CG off of it, but now that I've started watching this, when I go to probably the next big show will be WonderCon, I will see if there are animation frames for sale, because that's always like our tell of how much CG is in a show, if there are frames available or not.
2009, 2010, that is a rough line of like, did they start going to all digital yet or not? Yeah.
Yeah, I still got hand-drawn vibes on this one. So you go to the MRD facility, and we got our character reveals, and I mean, two of them you should know, but what was your, who from those three, which ones did you know?
Yeah, my note here was like, oh, there's just a lot of cameos, but I thought that was Boom Boom. I'm glad I was right about that. I love that how her thing is she's a blonde white girl with that like Mandy Moore spiky hair thing. Like that's kind of like the tell. And then I forgot who the other one was. Oh, Pyro. But I didn't know Pyro until he spoke.
Same, because for me it could have been Pyro, or it could have been Rusty, the kid who was in Deadpool 2 / he was the one that Scott blew up the orphanage building next to.
Okay, that the Kiwi kid played.
Right.
I can't remember his name. Yeah, I didn't know that. I almost thought it was it Sam that was Cannonball. Maybe just because
I never got Sam vibes off. I think it was the red hair that did it for me.
I think the reason I thought that though was because of the messed up design he had in Evolution that you and Michelle talked about. They're like, that doesn't look like. Oh no, it wasn't Evolution. It was the end of '92.
Yeah,
he appeared. And you're like, that's not how Sam looks like. I was like, well, that's the first time I saw him. So that's why.
Then we had Wolfsbane, who was there.
Oh, I didn't recognize it.
It's a very animalistic version of Wolfsbane.
Gotcha. And
then the big guy, Rockslide, is his name.
I was not familiar with Rockslide.
You wouldn't be. Rockslide got introduced in the mid 2000s. think it was New Mutants, but I could be wrong on the origin issues. But
Gotcha.
He's a 2000s plus creation, essentially.
Gotcha.
Yep. So Rick and his family are in these cells next to the mutants, and they pull him into an interrogation room, and I was just like, they're just gonna straight up torture this guy.
I was wondering, yeah. And they just didn't show it.
But before they pull him into the room, there's kind of this moment where they're like, the kid yells like, "Oh, he's not dangerous," talking about Wolverine, and then you get the reveal of this Colonel Moss that their face has been slashed, which not dissimilar from, you know, kind of the vibes we got from the Friends of Humanity guy in 97 too. And because they didn't say his name, I thought that might have been Stryker. That was what I thought it might have been, like similar to the live action movies.
I was getting confused because at first there was like a lead soldier when they were getting arrested at the house,
which we never saw him again.
Yeah, that I thought maybe that was Stryker or something, or Trask or something. Any of those people, you know. And then this guy, I was like, wait, is he the executioner? Because didn't the executioner have a scar too? And like,
but that was not the executioner.
Yeah, so I don't know. This is his own thing.
So, yeah, back at the destructed remnants of the school, Wolverine finds a area that's not very well camouflaged, so Beast is just relying on the fact that people aren't going to investigate the site of a explosion, I guess, as his safety. I love how they animated him going down the what looks like an old elevator shaft, basically. Where he took his claws and he's like using it to like go down the sides and stuff like that. I thought it was like, it looked awesome. So.
Yeah, it was fun. I also love that they just got like they're just going down a checklist of X-Men stuff. So like Destroyed Mansion right at the beginning, the very first thing.
Yeah, we didn't even make it to the end credits and we have a Destroyed Mansion. So Beast is down in the lab. Wolverine surprises him, and they kind of do like a little bit of a catch up together. You get further info that from everything that happened, Charles and Jean are unaccounted for. So gives the impression that if they're dead, it's not confirmed that they're dead kind of scenario. And, you know, they're also talking about what caused it. And Beast kind of goes through a quick little checklist of like, well, it wasn't this, this, and this. And Wolverine extrapolates out of that, well, then it couldn't have been the MRD and it couldn't have been Magneto.
Oh, yeah, because of the blast that was centered around Xavier. And
it was specific, like, the cause of it. Like, there wasn't, like...
explosives. And
explosive materials and things of that nature.
So I know, like, the obvious thing is something to do with Shi'ar. That seems too on the nose, right?
I don't think anything is too on the nose at this point. No, I think it may be like there was a story with Apocalypse in the comics called The 12 where he was like gathering psychics.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing that is closest for me, but I have zero evidence to support it other than it was two psychics who disappeared. Yeah. And we know that Emma Frost is a member of this team that is being rebuilt. So he would probably have tried to snag her too, so that probably disproves my theory of the 12 story. Yeah. And, you know, Wolverine points out, you know, they took this family for trying to help me. Beast makes a point of saying, oh, they're actually arresting non-mutants now, meaning that this is like an escalation and an evolution of what this is. And Hank doesn't want to help. Like at the beginning, he's like, I just want to be in my lab and do my own thing. And there's that great moment. Like this was probably like my favorite like line from the episode, where it's like, well, why don't you ask the others? And Wolverine's like, what others?
Yeah.
Like that's so depressing to think that the X-Men in this world at this point just straight up don't exist. Like Charles and Jean died and or disappeared, and then everybody just went their separate ways.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like a Days of Future Past, not the movies, but like the comic or animated thing, where it's like you just don't know where anybody. Yeah, that's why I was like kind of wondering if it's a Shi'ar thing. It feels weird to have like a cosmic thing happening for a Wolverine centric show. So I don't know. Yeah, that's why I like this so far. Is like it's got me so intrigued. There's so many like little mysteries happening.
It's a very breadcrumb heavy episode.
Yeah.
It's intentional stuff like like putting Marrow and Blink in the opening intro, that's an Easter egg. All this other stuff feels like it leads to something specifically. So that basically like gets Hank to agree to it. You see, cutting to a spot in the city, Magneto is on a billboard telling all mutants to come to Genosha, which just breaks me every time because nothing ever good happens on Genosha ever.
That, but also like what a interesting way to introduce the concept of Magneto and like, you know, Genosha or Asteroid M or something is like, it's a very like consumer. There's an ad on Times Square basically.
Yeah.
Like not Times Square, but like,
yes,
the center of the, you know, big city thing, like on a Jumbotron.
Yep.
So it's like, huh. And then he's just kind of like, he must not be a terrorist level yet, right? If he's just allowed to be.
If he's allowed to buy billboard space, he can't be a terrorist. Yes. I fully agree with your sentiment there, Rob. You see there's the MRD truck, and they have apparently the worst mutant tracker ever, because the guy makes a point of saying you don't know if they're 2 miles or 2 feet away.
Yeah.
And then they immediately just get their asses kicked, and Beast and Logan take over the truck.
That was pretty hilarious. That's a very like Ocean's 11 kind of, you know, thing. I like how, well, I didn't like, it was kind of sad but kind of funny like how it worked out, because Logan is like human presenting, so he gets to be the guard, and then Beast is like, it smells back here, and he's like, well, prisoners can't right up front, right? And like Beast is the only one that can't change his appearance, so he just plays into he starts knocking on the walls and stuff, and
Logan literally just is able to wear one of these guys' suits and throw on the helmet, and nobody questions it. It's like, oh, it's just like, that's our soldier that has chops on the side of his face, you know? He's able to, you know, talk his way in, and Beast plays the part perfectly of just like shaking the thing, but he's doing it without his shackles on, which I loved.
Yeah, because he said it was chafing him for his performance. I like that this Beast, they're implying that he's also a theater kid. I think like,
yeah, he's theatrical Beast.
We got in previous iterations, at least in the animated shows, that he appreciated literature, but this I think is the first time I've seen that. I feel like he actually was in theater, like he has acted in Shakespearean plays and stuff.
They open up the back of the van, and they see Beast does not have his shackles on yet. Wolverine gives a quick like drop kick and takes out the guys, and then they basically go inside and start taking out people, and it was just very thoughtful how they were doing it. Like, you know, Beast pops in from the ceiling, is like, okay, we could do this one of 2 ways, and then it skips to them getting thrown out into the hallway. And I love the interactions with this version of Beast and Logan too, because he's like, I'm not saying anything. Like, that was Logan's reaction to it. It's like, yeah, you did what you had to do. No. Did you notice he also called him Chewie?
Yeah. Nice little, because I forget, did they?
That was pre-acquisition.
Okay, interesting. So it was just a pop culture reference in general.
Yeah, the soldiers are coming back, and they make it look like they're gonna interrogate the little girl, and then they come in. Logan straight up bitch slaps this guy. I don't know if you paid attention to the animation. It was in particular like the swing of a hand. It was not a punch. It was a bitch slap.
That was like the Batman slapping Robin meme.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah, it was a slap across the face to knock this guy out, which I thought was fantastic. So he puts the soldier, the colonel, in the chair, and he basically just drops the threat on him, like, leave these people alone kind of scenario, which Logan has already messed up this guy's face, so I feel like there's going to be some sort of escalation between these guys throughout the rest of the season.
I wonder if that device leaves something lasting on that character. We're going to see, because they implied that it like probes your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So what if there's no one there to take you out of it?
Right. Which we know he did get out of it, but you don't know how long he was in it or how long you're supposed to be in it before it has bad effects and stuff like that. So, yeah. They break everybody out, and when people are coming out, you get the animated reveal of the character Dust, who also comes from that same era of the comics with Rockslide.
Okay.
We talk about Dust in the premiere and the trailer of X-Men 97 because she was on that Hellfire Gala flyer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I wasn't familiar with Dust besides that, I guess. But I think I like this character.
She's great. She's a very sad character, but a great character in the comics. So, and then there's just another girl. Like, if you look at everybody else, like even like your prediction on Boom Boom was right. Whether it was Rusty or Pyro, that's actually where we see them, not in the earlier shot. But Pyro, and then there's just a girl in the background who never does or says anything.
Just feel it was like someone's daughter.
It was just like a random sixth mutant,
yeah.
And I don't know why they existed. So, but yeah, so they go out, they steal a helicopter, and to your point, when I heard the voice, that was what confirmed it was Pyro for me, as opposed to the visual.
Yeah, I like this dynamic too, because I never really quite put together like what Boom Boom's thing was, but in this they imply that she actually sets fires, right? Because Pyro's able to
she makes fiery things that can explode.
Yeah, so because Pyro's able to control it, in that moment I was like, I hope there are a couple in this show, or at least flirt with it, like a Jim and Pam or something, because like it'd be so fun to have them like romantically involved, but also like their powers like perfectly. They can have so much fun with that. Like if she can generate the thing that he, because you know, like the one thing I do know about Pyro is that he can't make fire. He's just like
he always has to have the the lighter or the flamethrowers off of his arms and stuff like that. Yeah.
So those two, that's a fun combination I didn't think about before they showed that.
Yeah. So they take out some stuff with that combo power, and then you see how strong a character Dust is because two jets are chasing them, and I was like, oh, I love that they show. Like, she could literally take out two military-grade jets on her own without the help of anybody else, and looks like she does it without breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
You know?
I wasn't familiar with that character, but as soon as they're like, Dust, take care of it, and then she just, like, disintegrates, and then you see that it's almost like a Sandman thing, but in the air. And I was like, oh my god, this is going to be amazing. And then I was like, wait, so they're going to have a hard time managing, like, power sets in this show, right? Because that is already so OP right at the beginning.
I think it was roughly around this time frame where a lot of power sets escalated too. So it's actually very fitting that it's like, all right, this is the girl who's taking out jets. And the character, I could be wrong, so forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn, but I believe in the comics she also, part of the sad part of her character is she also is very religious. So she's also like, that's why she did the pose where she put her hands together first before she took the action and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So yeah. But yeah, she's just a really fun, like, power set and everything like that.
Incredible.
And I love that the Colonel comes outside and there's like a stare down with him and Logan. And I was just like, one of these two characters wants to flip the other one off and they just can't do it.
Save that for the movie.
Exactly. Yeah, he makes an appearance in Deadpool and Wolverine 2 till he's 90.
Right.
No. And then the episode starts to do its wrap up. I really appreciated this was not a 30-second wrap up. Mm-hmm. It felt paced and had like a mini epilogue at the end of it, but it was not, oh, how are they going to wrap this up? There's only 90 seconds left. I did not get that vibe off of this show.
I guess to be fair too, I wasn't really expecting like a super tight wrap up because I saw part 1 in the title, and then with all this mystery stuff, I was like, okay, do not expect this explanation to happen right away.
Yeah, and I think we were going to get that from the the mystery part of it, but I love that there wasn't like a cliffhanger style to be continued ending to it either.
Yeah, like Logan hanging off side of a cliff and then like to be continued.
Exactly. But Logan is with the family. He helped set them up in some cabin in the woods, and it was like, oh yeah, just, I'm not going to come back, so hopefully if I don't come back, then the government forgets about you. And I guess 2009, you still could have gotten away with that. Like, the information, like, the CCTV cameras and stuff like that weren't facial identifying people and shit, so.
It's weird because, like, when did Iron Man come out? Was that 2008?
8.
So, I feel like Iron Man was, like, the commentary on surveillance state, right? So, they were in that, like, 3 or 4 year window of like some places it wasn't quite there yet, but the fear was there. I think they were there with surveillance as we are now with AI. Like we don't quite know the extent of it yet, but the fear is there.
Yeah, they have the sweet moment with Logan as he's trying to walk away, and the girl like runs up and gives him the hug goodbye and stuff like that, and he's it's time I went home. Go back. You get the the opposite of the surprise that happened with Beast and Logan, and when they introduced where it's Beast surprising him this time.
So that was my one of my things besides Nightcrawler not being able to teleport out of the goo was Wolverine did not sense or smell Beast coming up behind him, because when they did it the other way at the beginning, it was like, okay, I guess Beast is not like that kind of animalistic thing, but Wolverine has always smelled people from a mile away. I
have a theory, just for the sake of being a devil's advocate on this. If Beast was the only person in that lab for a solid year, the whole thing smells like Beast.
That's so disgusting to think about.
Yeah. You're the one who talks about your foot peeling, so... yep.
My foot is on the table right now.
Nope. Don't want to see it.
Last year's foot is on the table right now. This is wild that it happened just like now of all time.
Yeah, you're mutating, Rod. One quick thing, they're talking about the MRD attack on the news. Did you pick up that the phrasing that was very, very low?
Did I?
Because I know you watch with captions on.
Yeah, I'm trying to see that I didn't take any different notes here.
So they mentioned that other companies are thinking about adopting a policy similar to the MRD, which was originally proposed by New York Senator Kelly.
Oh, I did hear Kelly. I couldn't make out what they're saying. I was guessing that was going to be something they were going to like address later, like in one of the part 2s or 3s or something.
Well, that was where they actually said it was the Mutant Response Division for MRD.
Okay, yeah, the Mutant Response Division. It's like, is that a thing from something else? They made it for the show.
MRD?
Yeah.
I've not heard of it before. Again, I have a window between 95 to 2005 that I wasn't reading as heavily, but I don't remember it ever being that specific name.
Okay.
So, yeah. And it was like, it's time to bring the band back together. It kind of had a little bit of a Blues Brothers feel to me when the episode wrapped up.
I gotta watch that movie again. You reminded me of that. But yeah,
the original. Just the original. Yeah.
But that's why I thought that could be a fun setup if it's like Wolverine's most famous X-Men, and also especially in the 2000s with like Hugh Jackman and everything. Use him as like kind of the, for lack of better words, like not Kitty, but he's the one we're following, and then he's going to introduce us to all the X-Men in this show. I could be completely wrong about that, but it's a fun premise.
And this would have been 1 year before X-Men Origins Wolverine came out, so it makes sense that they want everybody to be aware of Wolverine as a character. So
what a shame,
just from a business standpoint, regardless of your feelings on the movie.
That's such a shame too, because so far we'll see how they handle him. I like this Wolverine, even if he's not my favorite, and to think that they like kind of ruined him with Origins.
It was a combination of things between Origins and then also the Fox Marvel divorce that was happening, where they were like, Inhumans, but that's
right, because if Marvel Studios did this show, then they're doing it separate from Fox.
Yeah, but they still want to make their money off of Fox.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, yeah.
I will say for Steven, the voice actor, he felt like the middle ground to me. Mm-hmm. So you had Cal Dodd, who is, when I read Wolverine, that is the voice I hear in my head. Mm-hmm. Then you have Evolution, which we both agreed wasn't bad, but it wasn't Cal.
Yeah.
I felt like Steven was like the 50% mark of the two versions of him from how he approached the voice.
I can see that, yeah. Yeah, a little bit of like what we knew from Cal, but like he's still just kind of a dude.
Yeah. So I'm happy we are doing it this year. With any show that we're jumping into for the first time, there's always that like, well, what if it sucks?
Yeah.
And I do not get that from this show as it stands right now. Like, I'm actually a little shocked that it premiered at a 7.5 star rating. I feel like it was probably like a 7-8, 2 and 8 scenario. Mm-hmm. But I dug this. I thought this was really good. So I'm excited for future weeks of this show in particular.
Yeah, same. I'm actually trying to figure out what was going on in my life at that time that I decided to skip this show, because usually I have like with Evolution, I was like, I was in college, or whatever. This one in 2009, like I was years out of college. I was
8.
2008 is when this came out?
8. Yep.
Oh, okay. I thought we said 2009 earlier.
Oh, it is 2009. Did I fuck it? I don't know why I had 8 in my head, but yes, you are correct.
2009, I was like years into my first job, and it would be a full year from when this premiered before I went on tour full time. So this, like 2009 of all the years, would have been a year I would have like
2009,
watched a TV show. So I don't know why, either I wasn't aware of it or like I was just so bitter about the movies that I just didn't want to get, I don't know. But I think I would have liked this back then.
I was working at WWE at the start of it, and then by mid-year was when I was a bartender. So like the combination, I just had no... I was not consuming much content at that point, is probably the best way to think about it.
It was weird because I think that little window of time, the couple, maybe 2008 and 9 was probably the only years that I had like that time to, because like now I freelance in LA and stuff, so everything's all over the place. But then in college I didn't have any time. But at that time I had a day job, and so like I set aside time after work, after 5 p.m. when I got home at 6, I would watch TV shows. I watched like Monk and like House and everything. So I was like, I don't know how I watched Monk and not this. Like,
I mean, the one thing I didn't look up, and I'll look up for our next recording, was where it was actually airing, because maybe that was a factor of it. Like, here's the thing: if I'm working as a bartender through half of this season, I'm not waking up before noon on a Saturday. Or if the only reason I am waking up before noon is because I have to open the bar kind of scenario. So like, if it was only a Saturday morning show, I never would have been conscious to watch the damn thing.
Yeah, I don't even have that excuse because I was a TiVo guy.
Okay, so I was not. So I never had TiVo. So. Oh
really? What an era, man! Like, I had that because that was around when Heroes was happening, and that's the thing. I was watching Heroes.
That was the show I was watching, which was basically our live-action X-Men show.
Man, yeah, Heroes. Chris, I don't know if he's hearing this. Was my old roommate at that time. Like, he was in Police Academy while that was happening. Him and then my girlfriend at the time. They both
the movie.
Knew. What's that?
I said the movie.
The movie.
Police Academy.
Oh yeah. No, he was in a way sadder version of. It was that was a rough. Anyway, but they knew that whatever, I forget what time, whatever day it was, and it was like 8 p.m. when the Heroes came on. That was like Rod's holy time. Like, everyone between whoever I was dating to my roommates knew not to go into the living room or bother me when I was watching, because like I
think it was 8 to 9 because I think it was done by the time wrestling started.
8,
I think
8 makes sense because that's like not too late, so I could like go to sleep and wake up for a day job in the morning. And stuff. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I dig it. I'm excited to see what this year has for the show.
Yeah, I would say before I do the wrap up, if you have people that should be guests on the show for specific episodes that are fans of Wolverine and the X-Men, let us know. Let them know. We're trying to do more guests with episodes that people like, and unlike with Kelly, where I asked her like 6 weeks before Evolution was done, I've started already talking to people for this show, which is great. If there are shows that either one of us should be guesting on, and hit up the people who do those shows, or let us know and we'll hit them up, because we're doing more of that this year. And then also we're just going to be doing bonus content with interviews and stuff like that, but that one's more freeform for when we're doing it, because we have bi-weekly stuff, which is good.
I love for all the other shows, it was like, oh, we got to talk to Stephen Gordon or the Lee Walds, and this one, like, the producer is Kevin Feige.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull that one, Rod.
We'll see.
I'm great on email, but I don't think I could pull that one off.
Should I just say it so my dumb prediction comes true? It's like, we have Kevin Feige on here this year about Wolverine and the X-Men.
I mean, if we somehow trick him, that would be the weirdest interview of Kevin Feige's career, I feel like.
Yeah, also, like, there's a restriction where we can't talk to him about the MCU.
No,
don't have to. Only about Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yes. God, that would be the best writer. So you guys don't always know this, but there have been times where we've had PR people just like listening in the background as we were doing an interview. And they were cool. Like, we didn't have to cut anything when that happened and stuff like that. There would be a team of 18 people listening as we were talking to Feige if that ever happened. Yeah. Rod, closing thoughts?
Nah, just like I said before, I love the show so far. I'm intrigued with the mystery. I'm hoping the things that I'm a little bit frustrated with now, frustrated isn't even like too far of a word, is just something that's going to get resolved later. It's just like a mystery to be solved later and not really like a missing detail or something.
As long as we get a complete story in the single season, that is what I care about. Like, and that obviously we're not going to know until the finale. We lucked out with the end of Evolution where people said it was a cliffhanger. I don't want a single season show to be a cliffhanger because from what I understand, this was supposed to be multiple seasons and it got canceled partway through. Oh. And that scares me because if they were already in animation and this is coming out in one calendar year, you can't make a change when you're, 6 months into an 11-month run. Yeah. So
I can say, when I opened up Disney Plus, I saw, I think 2 or 3 episodes from this one. The thumbnail was Storm, so I'm assuming it's like a Storm-centric episode.
That's all you want.
If it is, that's going to decide for me if I like this show or not. If they do it well, sweet, we're good. If they don't, then I'm just going to hate it from that point on.
On that wonderful note, thank you guys for joining us. If you have any thoughts, make sure to drop them into the comments for either the YouTube upload, the official Instagram post, or the Spotify comment section. I have to add that to the script, Rod. And if you do like what you heard, just don't do anything. But if you do like it, we would appreciate a rating on the Podcast app of your choosing. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, and we're still on CastBox, but we're never going to be number 1.
Yeah, we can try. Also, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
2025 is already a train wreck, and we only had 24 hours.
Dude. We've had 4 major events in 2 days. I can't take this year already.